Party.
And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission (NCIC) wants IEBC to conduct a boundaries delimitation through consultation to avoid conflicts currently witnessed in 33 counties. For the umpteenth time, it will seem the various institutions as well as members of the public are proposing that the National Dialogue Committee push for a referendum in handling some of the proposals they have tabled before the 10-member committee, despite the 2010 Constitution even being fully realized. Abdi Hashim from the Bomas of Kenya.
Abdi Aziz Hashim. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says the absence of a properly constituted electoral commission is a threat to Kenya's thriving democracy. Mudavadi called on all political actors to put the act together and allow for the reconstitution of the IEBC along the requisite electoral reform laws. Nancy Okware reports.
During the Electoral Law and Governance Institute for Africa consultative workshop on post-election electoral law reform agenda, the Prime Cabinet Secretary warned that Kenya's democratic credentials are being dented by absence of a fully constituted electoral commission.
Though recommendations were made, only late changes through the Political Parties Amendment Act, which were more political than transformative, were affected to the electoral law. The last comprehensive review of electoral law was in 2016 by the Joint Committee led by Governor James Orengo and the former Governor Kiraitu Murungi while serving in the Senate.
The IEBC has for the last 9 months been without a single commissioner after the exit of Chairperson Wafula Chebukati, Commissioners Boya Molu and Professor Abdi Gulie, whose term expired in January, while the Cherera 4 resigned after the 2022 elections. Mudavadi has also called on Parliament to enact any electoral law reform a year before the next general elections to avoid confusion that rocks the Commission when it is confronted by new legislation months to the election.
As a nation, it's about time we deal decisively with the cyclic violence that afflicts our country during and after elections. Elections may be a make or break moment, but they should never be a do or die moment.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the country must rethink the population quota that informs constituency boundary delimitation that now risks sinking 40 constituencies in 5 months.
If you are to touch each of those 40 constituencies and say because you have not met the threshold X, or indeed touch those which are saved and you say we have 5 months within which to make sure something is done by the IEBC, I can tell you, let's all decide as Kenyans. You give somebody a right, you can't withdraw it. Such a sacrosanct right to representation.
To matters health, where the saying necessity is the mother of invention came true after the successful operation and treatment of a tumor using ultra-cyberknife technology. Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital in Ruiru, Kiambu County conducted its first ever non-invasive procedure on Wednesday. Here is Sarafina Ruby with the full report.
Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital, the board chairperson, Professor Olive Mogenda, accompanied by specialists and government officials, watches in awe the precision of the first-of-a-kind ultra-cyberknife procedure. The cyberknife is the first non-invasive cancer treatment technology in Kenya and the region, and the second in the continent after Egypt acquired one last year. 28-year-old software engineer Benjamin Modhama is the patient. Benjamin was diagnosed with a tumor between his eye and nose. 30 minutes later, it is relief, joy and applause.
Excellent.
As Mudhama joins his father, Jonathan Mutanga.
We even thought of even going to India due to the long wait, but we are happy that we have the machine here in the country.
And the patient, the tumor was
It's actually a benign tumor. It's not cancerous at all, but it was very close to the cochlea. This is the hearing apparatus, and the brainstem. This is the one that helps you do everything that you are able to do as a human being. This kind of treatment we're able, because it's very accurate, up to 1 millimeter of accuracy, we're able to evade these critical structures, and you can see the patient is actually standing.
It also supports universal health care, given that it is fully covered by NHIF, and patients with NHIF don't have to add any money to access the treatment.
The Sabanef will be able to treat 10 patients in a day, and already 100 are on the waiting list.
We intend to treat up to 300 patients maybe in the first year of this machine being up and running. Of course, as personnel, as a radiation oncologist, we are planning to keep on training, to keep on going for the trainings, and a lot of help is coming in from India, from the Accurate team.
It does treatment with more than 6,000 angles. So it hits the tumor from different angles, which no other system can do that.
The groundbreaking technology will go a long way in reducing the cost of seeking treatment outside the country.
Sarafina Robi reporting there. Now to the ongoing Senate Mashinani sittings, where the Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Churchill says enhancing electricity generation and interconnection with the grids of neighboring countries will help minimize cases of power outage. Now speaking during the Senate plenary sittings in Lodwar, I beg your pardon, that is in Turkana County, Churchill said the national government is committed to enhancing electricity connections in Turkana County to power development in the region. Gladys Mungai is in Turkana County and filed the following report.
Assembly in Lodwar.
Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Churchill told senators that the government has committed to providing adequate and affordable power connectivity to all Kenyans.
I also want to clarify to the CS to clarify why they changed the contractor, yet the contractor was performing well, and then you create more harm getting generators which cannot meet the demand of the power.
The Cabinet Secretary states the measures put in place to ensure that Kajiado County benefit from the energy resources, while indicating the status of explorations of gas, solar, wind, and geothermal energy in the county.
And currently, whereas the market in Lodwar is 2.8 megawatts, we are currently only supplying 2.4 because one of the 650 megawatts diesel generator went down, and we are working around the clock to make sure we replace.
During plenary sitting, Churchill noted that even though Turkana County contributes to the national grid, connections in the area are still low.
Is the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum implementing any specific plans or measures to ensure that the Samburu North constituency, which currently lacks access to the national power grid, can benefit from it? This particularly is significant considering that the transmission line of the Turkana wind power project is hosted in Samburu County.
We have landowners who have not given us easement to date to be able to, and therefore we really need to work with the communities, ensure that they benefit, particularly in those corridors, so that we can work together and expedite the development of this country.
Meanwhile, Mining and Blue Economy Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya told senators that recommendations on lifting of moratorium on mining licenses issued in 2019 is currently before Cabinet pending approval. The moratorium has affected crude oil activities, among others, in Turkana County.
The ministry has put measures in place to start granting artisanal miners with permits upon lifting of the current moratorium on issuance of mining rights. These measures include a gazettement of the Kakamega County Artisanal Mining Committee as per Section 94 of the Mining Act 2016.
Mvurya has committed full involvement of government officials in extractive activities to ensure the sector is fully under the control of the state. Among the proposals before Cabinet is instituting comprehensive audits on mineral rights, weeding out illegal licenses, as well as formalization of small-scale mining through cooperatives. From Lodwar, Turkana County, my name is Gladys Mungai.
And still from the Senate Mashinane sitting, senators from across the political divide are opposed to the National Executive's proposal to establish an advisory committee at the national level to manage primary healthcare. Now debating the primary healthcare bill at the Turkana County Assembly, senators said the proposed primary healthcare advisory committee will create bottlenecks that will hamper service delivery by the community health promoters. Instead, the lawmakers want more funds channeled to the counties to promote the implementation of primary healthcare. Here is Gishoki Washira with the complete report.
The primary healthcare bill currently before the Senate seeks to establish primary healthcare networks at each county and sub-county level to ensure equitable distribution of resources and health services. In a bid to fast-track realization of universal health coverage, the National Executive is proposing creation of community health units of not more than 1,000 households each and community health committees to oversee the operations of the health units.
For someone like me who comes from a rural setup, this is going to be a huge initiative, because look at the number of young people we are bringing into employment by hiring them as community health promoters.
Clause 14, Subclause 4 of the bill sets out the functions of proposed primary healthcare advisory committee, including advising the ministry and county governments on delivery of primary healthcare services and conduct periodic reviews on implementation of primary healthcare.
Mr. Speaker, I really want someone to convince me that I need a county advisory health board, and then at the same time I need a national one.
Mr. Speaker, we are in a country that we know that healthcare has been an issue of marginalization to communities since independence. And here, you have got a leeway where you're giving a national executive to further marginalized counties.
Senators opposing the creation of the National Advisory Committee argued it was unnecessary since implementation of the primary health care was done at the county level.
It cannot be, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are standing here today talking about a health function that is devolved, and at the same time saying that we are going to create a national body that will be governing or guiding the policy. Mr. Speaker, sir, we will be missing the point.
Please, let us not pass any law in this House that claws back the gains of devolution. We cannot say that primary health care, which is a devolved function, is going now to be managed by people sitting in Nairobi calling themselves a council.
The draft law also establishes a county primary health care advisory committee mandated to ensure effective implementation of healthcare services through resource mobilization. If passed by the Senate, it will be referred to the National Assembly for concurrence before being forwarded to the President for assent.
Let's look at business now, where the official opening of the Nairobi International Trade Fair was marked by a colorful awarding session presided over by President William Ruto. Winners spanned 10 categories, from large commercial firms to special categories for women, youth and disabled farmers. Now, among the awardees was Elgon Kenya, that is Dr. Bimal Kantaria, who was recognized for using innovative solutions to deal with challenges facing the agricultural sector in the region.
The Agricultural Society of Kenya Awards Ceremony is an annual official function presided over by the President, who doubles up as the patron of the affair. For more than 100 years, the event has grown in leaps and bounds, attracting locals, regional and international exhibitors. The agriculture event has evolved beyond agriculture to encompass other sectors of the economy, life, ICT, among others. As a routine, President William Ruto presided over the awarding ceremony, recognizing key players in various sectors.
Elgon Kenya has been supporting the Presidential Farmers Award for the last 8 years.
Elgon Kenya sponsors it, and Minister of Agriculture are the judges of the competition. And today we gave out the trophies for the best woman in agriculture, the best youth in agriculture, the best physically challenged in agriculture, and the best 4K club in agriculture.
Elgon Kenya, an agri-input supplier in East Africa, was among those honored.
So between Elgon and Ministry of Agriculture, we've started the 4K club already in schools. We have 1,200 schools that we're now encouraging agriculture in primary schools.
Group Managing Director Dr. Bimal Kantaria emphasized the importance of product diversification with a strong focus on environmentally sustainable products.
Elgon Kenya is pushing heavily on drip irrigation. We're doing very clever irrigation, which is also solar-based. It's got GPS coordination on it. We do the latest kinds of chemicals in the market. So very advanced chemical molecules we're now sponsoring. Our fertilizer is blended fertilizer.
St. Luke's School for the Deaf 4K Club was also feted after emerging as the overall winner among over 100 entries from across the country.
The assessment was on the themes and the actual performance of the learners on the ground of the farm practices.
Being deaf is not a big problem, but being deaf, they can farm well. Being deaf, there's no problem. They are just like other children. The only problem they have is about communication, but they are able to communicate using sign language.
The school wants the Ministry of Education to ensure special education is accessible to all students in the country.
It has been a day when the entire nation has gathered to celebrate the unsung heroes who contribute to the agricultural sector and those that feed the entire nation. This even has calls for Kenyans to tap into the opportunities presented in the agricultural sector reverberate throughout the day.
Trevor Ngendo reporting there. Now we look at sports, where to a story that I'd mentioned earlier, where President William Ruto has welcomed CAF's decision to award Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania the rights to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. CAF President Patrice Motsepe announced East Africa Pamoja Bed as the winner of the rights to host the biannual event in 2027 during the CAF executive meeting held yesterday in Cairo, Egypt. The president, who received the good news while officially opening this year's Nairobi International Trade Fair, said that the three countries would mobilize resources to host an excellent event. The wording, he said, has proved wrong people who were skeptical about Kenya having a chance to host the event in 2027 due to the state of sports in the country.
We have won the right to host AFCON in 2027, and we are very proud of this achievement. We will now mobilize every resource. We will mobilize every person and every sector to make sure that we deliver a world-class football event in 2027.
It brings us to the end of the news this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. Good Morning Kenya still continues. Vivian Degwe is still here together with DJ Unique. They'll be up in just a moment. From me, it's goodbye for now. Do you know that what you eat can affect your menstrual health?
This type of cinnamon is important for women who are struggling with missing periods and also irregular periods. Menstruation is supposed to be a natural process in your body. If you're not going through menstruation, that is not normal unless you are going through perimenopause or menopause. I've passed out many times just from losing a lot of blood because of having a heavy flow.
To learn more, join us this week on Thursday at 2 p.m.
It's a cocktail of emotions. The puns that cracks up the family. Greed that yields power and a hunger for success. Friends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living.
Na unajua kwa hiyo kujifanya ukuwe nyeupe ni upumbavu. Unajua?
Wewe
wanachipotoa. Alafu wana change color wanakuwa maroon commandos.
Tushaona mpaka uso vile imechomeka, unataka avue nguo alafu afanye.
Ametaka kama zebra cross. Tumia hizo product. Nilijaribu lakini niliungua. Niliungua nikakuwa makaa mheshimiwa. Umesema
hydroquinone?
Mlikuwa na hewa wapi?
It's a component in your products.
This week on What's in Your Kitchen, Chef Dennis makes for us mutton rogan josh. Santi, I've got all my ingredients for the mutton rogan josh, courtesy of our guest cook, Dennis. Aya.
Crushed methi seeds. Kila siku soma kitu mpya. Mchele wetu iko sawa. Hii iko sawa. Tumalize.
Sasa ni kwenda tukule. Lakini hauendi.
Mimi siendi.
Hauendi.
Hiyo tutaongea kwa meza kwanza.
Sawa.
I take this opportunity to welcome wananchi, citizen voters at Turkana County for Senate Mashinani. This Senate Mashinani, all Senate from Kenya, all the 47 counties will be attending a Senate session in Turkana County. We are very happy as the Senator of Turkana County because it is a privilege, it is honor for the Senate House leadership to consider Turkana for Senate Mashinani. Because for Senate Mashinani, citizens will be involved in making decisions, in making the fundamental problems they have been encountering in their everyday life. And this Senate Mashinani, with the role of the Senate, that it is representing the citizen making of law and oversight. So that opportunity will be taken to assess, to protect what Turkana is, because people have been hearing of Turkana, reading in the newspapers, seeing on the TVs what Turkana it is. So, as a representative of this area as a Senate, everything in the Senate is well prepared. We are ready. The ground is very ready for the Senate. In terms of facilities, accommodation, halls for trainings, they are very ready.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Degwa, and before we get into Entertainment Thursday, as I had mentioned earlier, we have guests with us here in studio. At least one of them is here already, and our topic of discussion is unlocking Africa's potential. And to take me through this discussion is Dr. Ron Josias, who is the chairperson, African Accreditation Corporation, and we shall be joined by Mr. Martin Chesire, who is the CEO, Kenya Accreditation Service. Dr. Ron, welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you very much for having us.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, and it's wonderful to be here in Kenya.
When did you come to Kenya? How long have you been around?
We've been here since Sunday. We've been having our meetings this whole week, started on Monday already, closing tomorrow with the General Assembly meeting.
All right, okay, and I have seen Mr. Chesire is here, but he'll find us in the conversation as we go on. So you are really out here trying to work on the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area. If you can just tell us what African Continental Free Trade Area is.
Okay, yes, thank you for that question. Yes, part of our work this week is actually to see how AFRAC, which is the African Accreditation Corporation, which is the body meeting here this week, how it should support the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. One of those key areas in the African Continental Free Trade Area is the Technical Barriers to Trade Agreement. Under that agreement, it deals specifically with how do we provide trust in our goods and services that we consume and export. And the responsibility of AFRAC is to accredit conformity assessment bodies such as testing laboratories, the laboratories that test for our foods, laboratories that we use in construction to test various items, laboratories, we got inspection bodies, those who inspect, and certification bodies who certify these products. So this particular week, we're looking at those structures that support the African Continental Free Trade to give confidence in the goods and services, like I said, that we consume, that we export, that we use, so that people can have reliance on the goods and services that we export in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So we form a key component in the African Continental Free Trade Area under the quality infrastructure institutions.
Yeah, which are some of the countries in this African Continental Free Trade Area?
There are 52 countries currently signed up to the African Continental Free Trade. Basically, it covers
every country in
almost
Africa.
Every country in Africa, yes.
Okay.
In AFRAC, however, which is the body that we're looking at very specifically, we have about 7 accreditation bodies covering about 26 countries on the continent. We have another 8 in the process of actually getting to become full members of AFRAC. So we are covering the continent in terms of the accreditation services required.
All right, I get that. And if you may just tell me what are some of the benefits, for this particular trade area?
I think the benefits is enormous. We have, as Africa, gone through various stages of integration. This is the regional integration effort where actually combine all of Africa into a free trade area where we can actually now start to trade with each other. So we're talking about 1.5 billion people. We're talking about 18% of the global population that's here in Africa. And the big issue for us is obviously how do we trade with each other? How do Africans trade with Africa? Less than 20% of our trade in the region is done amongst ourselves. In other words, almost 80% of the goods and services that we consume are imported from outside Africa. And that dynamics needs to change. And this is one of the key issues that the Continental Free Trade Area wants to address. And to do that, it needs still have to have confidence in the goods and the services we consume. And that's where AFRAC plays its role in terms of making sure that we have the trust in the goods and services through accreditation.
Yeah, and just as you've said, we get to import maybe a lot of things from outside, yet we have so much, you know, in terms of resources just within Africa. There's so much that we can, you know, we don't need to import from all over, if you ask me. And I agree with you on that. We don't need to import from all over the world. We just have, we can sustain ourselves as a continent, if you ask me, and I believe that. So to know that that is what you are trying to chase, that is what you're trying to make happen, is really, really a good thing. And Mr. Chesire is here with us. Good morning, Mr. Chesire. Welcome to the show. You're caught up in traffic.
Not really.
Okay.
Insecurity.
Oh, okay. So we were just talking about the fact that, you know, us as a continent, we can be able to sustain ourselves. If you can just give us your thought on that.
Today, I think it's an obvious statistic that we are trading very minimal among ourselves. Even the trade between Kenya within the EAC. We import largely from outside Kenya. And so we don't have any productive capacity. We have the capacity to produce, however, we deny ourselves the opportunity to produce. And I think that's why a lot of effort is going now into ensuring that we drive resources into manufacturing in particular.
Okay.
So that we can supply ourselves. The more we supply ourselves, then you have access to then share with somebody else. If you cannot feed yourself, for example, then how can you feed your neighbor?
You cannot be able
and we have
to.
very good products. A long time ago, Kenyan tea was a brand, a global brand. Today it's coffee. Everything has been competed against.
Yeah.
So that's my thought about why we're here today, why we're having the General Assembly now as AFRAC. AFRAC, I think is already mentioned, is the African Accredited Corporation. What we do and what our role is to ensure that we check the providers of services such as testing that ensure that a product going to another market or even within our market conforms to, and we give assurance to the consumer, to regulators, that all requirements have been met.
Yeah.
There is typically a question that I'm asked often, that what is the role of standards and what is our role? And I want to put it this way. There is the role of standards in particular, and standards by their default nature are industry's best practice. So that's a first instance. We want to, how to put it, identify and summarize what should be the minimum requirements for, say, our normal maize meal flour that we use for ugali.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get created, it's created proactively. It never created reactively. When there's a failure, then we have regulations. Now, what we do is facilitate the second aspect of why regulations and standards are there. They check, how do you know that somebody has conformed to that standard or regulation? So that's the role of the people we accredit. So we consider ourselves the checker of checkers.
Okay. All right, before I get into the accreditation part, because I believe most people, that is where they really want to know, how are you able to accredit? How do you go about that? Maybe what is hindering us? I want to go back to why we are not trading amongst ourselves as Africans. What is hindering us? Dr. Watt?
There are obviously various reasons. Some of them are quite objective, others are subjective in that matter. On the objective measures, most of that is dealing with technical barriers that we put in place. Technical barriers such as differing standards. South Africa's got a standard, Kenya's got a standard, Botswana's got a standard, Namibia's got a standard. And you find an SME want to trade with South Africa or with Namibia or anybody else, and then they face different requirements for the same product, different countries. So differing standards is a challenge. Different conformity assessment procedures, such as they would require, for instance, saying that this product, before it comes into our market, must be tested here. But you've just tested it here in Kenya, and now it's needed a retesting. It adds additional costs. It makes it uncompetitive for SMEs to play in that particular space. And that is where some of the challenges is, and that is why where we are here, to basically address some of those technical barriers that prevents us from actually freely trade with each other. So we can say we have a free trade area, But there are rules that needs to be regulated, and there need rules that needs to be harmonized for us to be able to trade freely across borders.
Okay. I don't know if this would be one of the reasons why maybe we are not able to trade amongst ourselves, the fact that our borders are not as open in terms of, for me to go to a particular African country, I may need a visa.
Yeah.
And someone would argue, why can't they just, open it up whereby a Kenyan does not need a visa to go to, okay, South Africa now, we don't really need visas for that. But why aren't they opening it up? And could it be that if they open that, it's going to be easier to trade amongst ourselves?
Well, I think you got the right point.
Mm-hmm.
Before maybe you existed and I existed, our ancestors could cross borders.
Yeah.
Do whatever they want to visit each other.
Yeah.
Today, yes, we have all these restrictions we've created. As he put it, it's subjective elements. What we really want to see is if Kenyans can eat it, why can't South Africans eat it? Why can't Ugandans eat it? And they're not dying.
Yeah.
That's a principle that we're looking at.
Mhm.
And I think that's why we have organizations that are dealing with attempting to harmonize standards, approximate regulations so that we can trade. That's why we also have the sub-regional economic communities to remove some of this aspect and have a common understanding and say, do we really need this? When countries came into existence, then structures came into place, and then we put a number of rules that even if you ask me today, some things we should really not be doing them. Yeah.
Like?
Some of the controls that we put in place, that if you did the traditional organic agriculture and you want to ship any produce from this country, you just carry it in your bag. The first thing is it will be dumped at the airport before you exit. Yeah. So we put these controls to help citizenry. However, we need to start questioning, do we really need them? Yeah. Do we really need them?
Okay.
And that's one of the conversations that needs to happen to say, this is a standard, this is a regulation, what its objective for. The World Trade Organization identifies some legitimate interest a country can control. That's why it is there as a forum to ensure that we're able to eliminate some of this.
Yeah.
One of them is health. The other one is safety. The other one is environment. Those are the primacy and fair trade and consumer protection. The rest are not. But what we do is establish a standard or regulation that again goes against the objective. We just need to have a standard. I was given an example yesterday.
Yeah.
Countries have established a standard for injera. Injera is Ethiopian food.
Yes.
Because there are Ethiopian restaurants everywhere in the world. Now we are calling that we need to harmonize standards for injera across. Yet the producer and the original IP for injera are Ethiopians. So what we should be saying is, let's adopt that standard and ensure that we are having the level of quality of Ethiopian food that is being supplied within our countries. So that's one of the good examples that I think I can give. This product never existed outside Ethiopia. Now we have restaurants everywhere. And now we want to we've established a standard for injera, yet we are not the original producers of it. So that's the context that we need to look at it in that context.
I get that. I want to get back to the accreditation. How do you accredit? How do you make sure that, accreditation is done and it is done properly to standard? For us as the media people, for our accreditation, we just need our badge.
Yeah.
That's badge for Media Council of Kenya. When I have that, I'm accredited as a journalist in the country. So how do you work on, accreditation? And this is across the continent.
Okay, yeah. In AFRAC, for instance, AFRAC is an association, as I said, of accreditation bodies. Now, each of those accreditation bodies, such as KENAS in Kenya, is responsible to comply to what we call an international standard. That international standard is the ISO IEC 17011 standard. Now, for KENAS to become a signatory to AFRAC's arrangement, it needs to fully comply to that standard. And we will assess KENAS against that particular standard. KENAS was successful in that. KENAS is signatory to the AFRAC arrangement, and so are all the other accreditation bodies that are signatories to that. Now, for a body to be accredited by KENAS, they need to comply to very specific requirements. Laboratories, for instance, need to comply to the international standard, ISO 17011. So it's not as easy as the media one. They need to demonstrate that they comply. They need to demonstrate that the people are competent. They need to demonstrate that they have the right environment in which they can conduct tests. They need the right procedures, the policies, everything around that. And they need to demonstrate that to an assessment team. And every 18 months, at least minimum 18 months, that team from Kenas would go there and evaluate that laboratory that they've accredited. If they comply to those requirements, they will receive the certificate of accreditation. So it's and it's very specific for what they can do. It's not saying that once you're accredited, a laboratory accredited, you can do everything. It's very specific to the competencies that's within that accreditation body, or within that conformity assessment body, in the laboratory, in the inspection body, or certification body. That is what they can do. They're accredited for a limited scope that they can prove their competency in. And like I said, every year, every 18 months, they get reevaluated. Now, the beauty of this is that because there's a body that confirms the competence of this particular body, this body, such as Kenas, is also signatory to the international mutual recognition arrangement, the arrangement that recognizes Kenas' competence. And therefore, if this body is accredited by Kenas, the results should be accepted by all those bodies that are signatories to the international body. And there are more than 105 economies in Europe, in Americas, and Asia that belongs to that needs to promote the results of Kenas accredited facility globally. And that is how we get the goods and services accepted in other countries. So they know that this good, this phone or whatever that comes with this accreditation certificate, we can rely on that because it's reliable, it will work for us, and it meets the compliance standards that has been set aside for this phone to operate in.
Okay, I get that. So every country has an accreditation body.
Most countries have an accreditation body.
Okay.
However, the services are provided in certain cases. For instance, Kenas would provide accreditation to some of the countries that do not have an accreditation body. In SADC, we have one accreditation body that we've established intentionally because some of the countries are very small. And so to sustain accreditation body there, we knew from the start they won't be able to do that. And therefore we have established one accreditation body that serves 13 member countries in the SADC region. So the services are available to all 52 countries or accessible to all 52 countries, not necessarily must have a national body to provide that service.
Okay. So maybe what are some of the challenges that you are facing as an accreditation body?
Actually, one of the key challenges we have at Face and Accreditation Body is the resources to be able to supply the service. We rely heavily. It's an assurance business. The same way the Auditor General requires staff to carry out an audit. So we require competent people for different scopes to be able to undertake the assessments. As Kenas today, we have gotten into the space of greenhouse gas emissions. We're supporting the aviation sector. Be able to have the scheme under the ICAO, the carbon reduction scheme for international aviation. Kenya has a deadline by 2027 to be able to monitor and supply the results. So anybody who is doing currently any validation verification in the country, we have very few. If I went across the region, perhaps we'll count something like 30 people. So that's one of the biggest challenges we have, and that's why we, as a corporation, we're looking at sharing the resource. If South Africa have developed, if Egypt have developed capacity on that, we then exchange and they come and train our people that we already have within that scope of aviation, and then we're able then to supply the services across. So that's one of the biggest hindrance to penetration of accreditation. The second one, this is particularly, I think, across Africa. Recognition of accreditation by regulators. We exist as a tool for regulators. Regulators invest in a laboratory. So one of the things that happens is they impair the independence required. So you say, I will take the sample and I want to test it myself. Now, the international standard and what we use as international standards is, these are the only, worldwide recognized standards. This is one thing we speak in one voice. If it's a laboratory standard, all 164 members have agreed on a particular standard. If it's inspection, there is 164 members of ISO and IEC have agreed to it. So that's one good thing that we have, that we can tell everybody that this is the only global standard. But what we have regulators doing is create a standard for themselves or regulation that then says, I will check you in the context of their licensing. So that's the second barrier that we have, to ensure that the market is able to be supplied with the services. The third one is awareness. Accreditation came into being not more than 40 years ago as a mechanism globally. But it existed since 1921 in Australia, for example, 1912 in the US. It's been a mechanism that has been taken and used. Regulators no longer, they give out the opportunity for self-regulation among different sectors of the industry. And people call out accreditation to be able to demonstrate that they comply and consumers are aware, the public are aware. So those are three challenges that maybe I can put across.
Yeah. You're okay with those ones?
I'm okay with that one.
You wanted to add maybe?
Not necessary. I think Martin has covered it well. And the key issue is the understanding. The accreditation is there for trade, but similarly accreditation there for health, safety, environment protection. That we know that is the sphere of government. And it plays a key role in that particular area of providing those services to give trust to government, to remove subjectivity in decision making, because you now have actual facts to back up your decisions of how do we spend budget on this particular education or in this particular health sector, on this particular medicines that we would buy, you know.
Okay, so the meeting has been ongoing, and the last day of the meeting that is happening is tomorrow. So maybe if you can just touch on what it is all about, what are you talking about in this meeting, who are involved in this particular meeting?
So yes, the General Assembly is tomorrow, after the whole weeks of discussion. So what's happening this week, there are various technical committees meeting. At this point in time, as Martin said, we deal from the issue from education, the changing standards. We're looking at our in particular environment. Climate change is a big issue. So we're starting to discuss the standards that we're going to need, and the conformity assessment we're going to need to support those decision makers in terms of climate change. So we've got an international standard at the moment, it's the ISO 17009, which deals with verification, validation in the greenhouse gases, for instance. So a lot of those technical discussions will come up into this final meeting, General Assembly meeting, where, as I already said, we are represented by basically all the economies on the continent. A few more still have to come on board, but the majority are on there, more than 25 covered, 27 covered at this point in time. So the discussions tomorrow deals very specifically, one, with how do we make sure that the accreditation and accreditation requirements is aligned to the needs of our region. Specifically the AFCFTA issues, how are we going to support the AFCFTA going forward in terms of what we need to provide. The second issue is really to discuss the needs of our accreditation bodies. How do we create the new other accreditation bodies to get up to the level of, for instance, Kenya, where they become a signatory to the arrangement? So those are the discussions, and the third level of discussions as well deals with the consumers, deals with the stakeholders as well. How do we serve the stakeholders better? So tomorrow's discussion, or this whole week's discussion, will accumulate tomorrow into that, the final deliberations on the way forward. How do we influence the international requirements? In a lot of cases, we have found, in fact, one of the pillars of AFRAC was basically dealing with that function of how do we have an international voice, an African voice in the international fora. So we will discuss, obviously, those as well, because there are new developments internationally, and we need to have our say and our voice in that forums as well. So part of that discussions will also happen tomorrow.
And how does domestic assurance contribute to this success?
Okay, as Kenas, one of the things that our domestic assurance gives, especially within, let's look at the African continent, is acceptance of results. If we produce this product and the test report goes with our accreditation, anybody within Africa should accept it. That's the first thing we do. Now, domestic assurance, what we supply, and this is perhaps in the medical area, you have malaria, you go to hospital. How sure are you that the results is going to come out correctly or validly? We give that assurance. Currently, we have more than 144 laboratories accredited in the medical space. for the basic primary tests, the common diseases that are there, malaria, typhoid, brucellosis, we have, including HIV.
Okay.
So the network of laboratories, the more the network of laboratories, the more access to valid results that doctors rely on, and the more they can give you the right cure. So you do not go to hospital and say you're told you have this, and then you're prescribed a different medication that has side effects on you. So that's one of the things we give in terms of supporting the health sector. When it comes to the product sector, the things we consume, everyday quality assurance. Today we have more than 400 water bottlers in Kenya. They require a laboratory before they release their product to the market. Very few invest in a laboratory, but we have a network of laboratories that test the water on an ongoing basis, besides getting the certification that they require to supply in the market, the KBC mark. So on a regular basis, that test, when you release a batch, how sure are you? And they're protecting their brands. The first primacy is to ensure that the brand is a continued quality within the market and safety within the market, that it is not having harmful bacteria and everything. Then on an yearly basis, the KBC come and pick sample from the market, wherever it is, and they confirm that actually conforms, that they sustain their mark. So those are the elements that we do in terms of assuring within the economy. We also assure you that you can fly to Mombasa safely. We work across sectors. The choke wrenches that are used to tighten tires of planes is under an accreditation we've given the calibration laboratories that operate both at Wilson and JKI. How Kenya got to go to the US directly was because of the accreditation we granted the Kenya Airways calibration laboratory. So we moved from general product to services to high precision areas. So those are some of the things we assure that allows global participation of Kenya.
What are some of the benefits to this, you know, this robust domestic assurance? What are the advantages?
One of the key issues, and I'll give Martin that one on the domestic one, but I think one of the key issues, as Martin has basically said, is this tested, inspected, certified ones accepted everywhere. It avoids that re-testing, that re-inspection or re-certification, and does make the product more competitive in the international environment or the export environment. So those are one of the key drivers of this this particular area, or advantages that organizations have.
We have regulators who rely on us today, a number of them very, very, very well. For example, the school buses, they're all yellow buses. At the end of it, there's an accredited inspection body inspecting it. So that's a benefit to the citizens. You peace of mind if you have children riding on that bus. If you look in the recent past, there have been few fatal accidents that involve school buses, because the person who's inspecting it is accredited, and that gives assurance to NTSA to give a license for the bus to go on the road. The same with the petroleum sector. There is a Kenyan standard established for it. That Kenyan standard is subject to an inspection. The inspection is anchored, underpinned by accreditation. There was a fuel tanker last year, I think, Mayu. It rolled. There was no fatality. The fuel wasn't lost. It was delivered to the next truck, and the recovery took place. So we moved away from the public outcry concerns like the Salga incidences by giving, I am an investor in a petroleum tanker that I need to move fuel from point A to point B. I maintain my assurance so we give you peace of mind that that inspection was accredited. So those are two simple examples I can give. We have thousands of others, like I mentioned about the medical. Doctors today look at, if they send you to a laboratory, they look at our list of accredited medical laboratories, depending on where you are. I can do a diagnosis from Nairobi, but I'm somebody who is a resident in Kisumu. I tell you, go to this laboratory, get the test, let the results be sent to me.
I think one of the key benefits for SMEs, very specific, it levels the playing field. So whether you're a big organization or whether you're a small organization, once you're accredited, you are equal. It just deals then from that point of view with the volumes you can produce. But the quality, nobody should be able to doubt that, because you've been evaluated, you've been assessed, you've been accredited, your results can be relied on.
How does accreditation generally, as we wind up, contribute to quality assurance?
Accreditation does not only contribute to quality assurance, it contributes to the 5 aspects I mentioned. Safety. I talked about school buses, that's about safety.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
I talked about the results you're getting from a laboratory. Okay, that's a validity of a results. That goes in the context of quality. Then we have the environment. There's environmental testing that is being done currently. There is noise pollution. Today you hear everybody wanting to have a place closed because it's next to the neighborhood.
Yes.
How sure are you? Your decibel meter is giving the valid range. So there's a calibration that is done for that. So we again deal with the environmental aspect. We have pollution from motor vehicles. Today we are not doing that as a regulation within Kenya that is mandatory, but it's done outside the country. But in other countries, every year you take your car for pollution emission testing, and then you correct it or you dump the car. So we cover the aspect of environment. And what you mentioned about level playing field, we support a fair trade. At the end of the chain, it is the market and the consumer who benefits. So there is a series of things that happen. So let me break it this way. A standard without conformity is not quality, safety, or environment. A regulation without enforcement, supported by conformity, is nothing. So I think I can put it that way.
Yeah. My final question, how do we unlock Africa's potential?
There's an old saying in African saying that Africa is too rich to be poor.
Which is true.
Which is true, and which is actually at the heart of everything we do. And how do we unlock that? The Continental Free Trade Area gives us a good opportunity to do so. But for us to be able to do so, we need to address these issues that cause the barriers for us to be able to trade. I think Martin has highlighted a few of those barriers that we have currently in place that we need to address. Some of these things are not necessary anymore. Environment has changed from the times when it was necessary. It requires a reevaluation of all these processes. It requires a technical support in terms of standards, in terms of metrology, the guys who do the measurements issues, make sure that our kilogram is the same kilogram that you'll find right around the world. It requires these issues of accreditation to give confidence not only within Africa but globally as well. We know that goods produced in Africa, even if we increase trade amongst ourselves, some of those goods that we produce here are input to something bigger that we export. And therefore, our international markets will need to have the same confidence in that goods and services. So we need to unlock a lot of these and destroy these barriers that we currently have in place. And there's already a lot of progress in that being done, made in this particular area as well. So we are actually quite excited as AFRAC and as the quality infrastructure institutions on the continent that we can contribute to that part of it. But politicians, technocrats, everybody, the users, people, consumers need to ask more, need to demand more in terms of, I want an accredited certificate. Paternity testing, I want to see objective evidence of this has been done in a accredited lab so I can rely on it results. So yeah, we need to ask more, we need to challenge more and become less just accepting.
All right. Thank you so much. You had something to add on to that as we wind up?
I think to unlock, we need to lose some bad habits.
Okay.
In Kenya, we have more than 120 regulators. And the one thing that they need to start thinking is the structure of regulation has evolved. We didn't have tools like accreditation today.
Yeah.
And they need to start considering that. And I put it at the very beginning. Regulations are reactive. There has been a failure. So they need to look at tools that create a proactive mechanism to compliance to be able to then unlock all this. And the bad habits are, we need to ask ourselves, do we need to regulate in the first place? Can the market itself clean up? There was a time in Italy, there was an outcry. What did Italians do? They just let the public outcry lead into an action from the consumers, and they never ended up regulating. So a product that was of poor quality left the market. There was no opportunity for that person to supply anything. And some of the things we need to start thinking, that do we really need to regulate? If we must, can we use tools as standards which are more proactive and accreditation to support that? Because that's what we see in evidence that it works. Other economies are doing it very well. Thank you.
We get that. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ron and Mr. Chesire, and thank you so much for letting us in on this discussion. I believe that us back at home, those who are back at home, I said us and I'm here. I believe that those of you who are watching us back at home have been able to learn a thing or two from this discussion. Right now, I want to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll be joined by Gladys Mungai, who is all the way in Lodwar for the Senate proceedings.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line! Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is! She smashed it!
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1. Your true sports partner.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anahadithia kisa cha vijana wa pangoni. Vijana hawa wanafahamika kuwa vijana waliokuwa na imani na ni kielelezo chema kwetu kama Waislamu na kama vijana katika zama hizi.
Wakati wa ujana sio wakati wa upumbavu, sio wakati wa mchezo. Kitu ambacho kwamba watakiwa tukifanye ni kumwamini Allah tabaraka wa taala.
I'm calling you ya Rabbana, I'm calling you.
Dear viewers, and welcome to this makeshift studio live in Lodwar in Turkana County, focusing on matters women in leadership. And we have the privilege of engaging two esteemed senators. I'm speaking about Senator Veronica Mainal as well as Senator Hamida Kibwana. They'll be telling us 1, 2 or 3 insightful comments in regards to matters women leadership in the country. Welcome very much, senators on set. And to just start us off, Senator Veronica Mainal, I'll be starting with you. I understand that women senators under the umbrella of Kiwosa, you met women leaders drawn from this particular county and beyond. Could you probably tell us what that meeting was about in a nutshell and some of the resolutions?
Good morning, viewers, and thank you very much, members of the For the Seat, for having us here this morning, especially in the far-flung county of Turkana, where we have met the great people of Turkana County, and they have received us very well. And yes, we had a meeting, a very inspiring meeting with members of county assemblies and leaders drawn from Turkana County and Trans Nzoia County, the women leaders. And we also had the First Lady of Turkana County. We are glad she graced the occasion. And we had a moment to have a conversation, a candid conversation and a capacity building session where we looked into how women can become more effective in their legislative mandate, in their oversight mandate at the counties, and also in their representation mandate, and how women can garner those seats in competitive politics and be able to retain those positions even after they have been able to garner the seats from their respective wards or respective constituencies or counties. So we had a very good conversation, and it's amazing and sometimes shocking to see the kind of things that women leaders have to go through in order to retain those seats and even to continue being successful or to continue being effective in executing their mandate. But we'll be having the conversation. At least we have Kewasa Chair is with us here. Ideally, she should be the one that is giving the overarching resolutions of Kewasa on that day. But we continue on with the conversation.
Could you probably tell us what is the essence or what is the significance of these two aspects, the aspect of networking and mentorship for women who are seeking leadership positions?
Thank you very much for having me here. Truly, we found ourselves engaging in challenges. Our discussions most of the time revolved in challenges, but we are so happy. In fact, we are glad that we are in this position to empower the women or to give them that space. One, we realize that access to support, any leadership support, they're not receiving any support. Should I say from the men? There's cultural barrier. So, for example, we had one MC. We only have in Turkana. There's only one MCA elected. They even had to nickname her Mama Nimoja because, like, the barrier, the cultural barrier, it comes in between. It disconnects, the men from the women. So in such tribal and in such tribal, position, you may find that getting the men, they only do lip service, but then getting the men to support the women, it is a problem. So we are trying to get the women to support the women. We discussed about the limited support that they're getting, But then this was so enlightening and empowering because we are telling them, look, we are here to engage, we are here to empower you, we are here to support you, we are here to do anything necessary that we can work together. Of course, the oversight, what we do as in the Senate is oversight, and it actually duplicates exactly what they do at the county level. So with that kind of support, so you end up the involvement with them, the involvement of the women leaders in the county is quite limited. So you may find in terms of statements, motions and bills, they are unable to articulate, they are unable to get that support. So that's what we are trying to do. But then with the support that we are getting, in fact, right now we'll be getting grants from different organizations, development partners, that now will be able to reach out and also to trickle down the same kind of support from them to the others. What we are fighting for is the same women. Now that we had only one MCA, we are hoping that next time we are going to have at least 6 or 8 elected MCAs. So this is a kind of support that we are trying, to give them. For now.
Senator Veronica Maina, Senator Hamida mentions the aspect of cultural barriers, and that the slogan here is Mama is Moja, and that particular challenge is not just a challenge in Turkana County, is equally a challenge that, so to speak, cuts across the country. as women elected and nominated senators, and also under the umbrella of Kiwosa, probably what are the measures you're looking into putting in place to ensure that this particular notion that women cannot be leaders is sort of done away with, and probably moving forward we have the electorates electing more women into competitive politics?
It's a very interesting conversation, and I first want to laud you for inviting us to do a conversation and a debate on women matters, because many times when I have had interviews or conversations, it's been other topics, but then we throw in a sentence or two about women. So first of all, the dedication of this airspace to women by itself is empowering to women, because the gender question is a little bit more complex than we can care to imagine. When we talk about gender stereotypes, they are cross-cutting. Actually, not just in Kenya, not just in the 47 counties. They are cross-cutting in Africa, and they are cross-cutting even across the continents, because you will find even the black woman, the African-American woman, has issues within America where you would expect, the United States of America, where you would expect women to be way much more empowered. And indeed, they are much more empowered than we are in Africa, because you'll find they can speak, they have a voice, they have a space within which they are told the minorities and women are able to speak a little louder. Now, coming back to the context of our counties, specifically like the Turkana, then you find when you're in a far-flung place like Turkana County, which is really, the culture will be strong. The development, the face of development where the community is such that the women's place is already like cast in stone. They're expected to be within the domestic setting. They're expected to be the ones nurturing the children. They're expected to be the ones maybe here, even building houses, or having to fetch water. Those roles by themselves, they are called gender roles. They usually then define, beginning from the domestic setting, they are cascaded to the public space. Now, when they are cascaded to the public space, when the woman comes in now to ask for, say, a governance seat or a constituency seat, people tend to think she should be doing something a little not in the space of leadership. That by itself impacts the thinking of the electorate on what kind of positioning they should give women. So we have the issue of gender stereotypes, gender roles. What roles are we ascribing to the girl child as she grows? What roles are we ascribing to the boy child? Because at a later date, it translates into how we see women. Like, for instance, if I'm introducing an engineer without putting a gender, I introduce this engineer who is about to enter the stage and address the people. In their minds, the person who will come into their minds is a male character. It will not be a woman. Or if I'm introducing a pilot for this big jet, Boeing what, the mind brings into focus a man. Now, when you introduce a governor sometimes, and we are saying the position of a governor needs to be occupied, you will find the society, because of the thinking, the cultural stereotypes of what women should be doing, what women should not be doing, then they think, because decisions in this community are done by elders, who many times will be male, then it means the person who should be in a leadership position to make decisions that impact on a community will be a male. So we have a heavy job as Kewosa and many women leaders, because we need to sort of rethink, what do we think about these stereotypes? What are you casting your daughter at home to do? And now when the woman enters the space, I know you are conversant with this cliche that women leaders usually say, when you enter a boardroom, don't even serve tea to anybody, just take your cup of tea and go, because people might see you like you should be doing those roles of the girl who carries the tea girl. That is what you should be, not a manager making decisions. And normally women will say that because they are thinking, maybe by putting that cup of tea, then I'm going to be seen as, I'll reduce my role as a manager in this institution. So maybe there are many issues that we need to discuss about the stereotypes. And then there is a harder question. When now women come out and they are strong and they are leaders, then they are asked, do women want to become men? In fact, that is one study I've been wanting to do and write. Do women want to become men? Indeed, it's a question that needs to be answered both by women and by men. Because men think that when women come asking for these positions and equal opportunities, then they want to become like men. And maybe that's not the case. Women may not want, I don't want to become a man. I want to be a leader as a woman and to be celebrated as a woman leader, not as a male. So there are many aspects, many perspectives, but it's good you've dedicated space to discuss gender matters.
Certainly. You've heard women being told you're not as strong leaders as compared to your male counterparts. What has worked for you specifically in this case?
One, I should say it's a high time that, or it's long overdue, that women should support women. Because of course the discrimination part of it for women, and also men at times, they do lip service on supporting women. But then women should support women, and we should be strong enough. And I like what Senator Veronica is saying, that we need to be in there, we need to make our voice heard. Some of us are very new in politics, but then I'm realizing, hey, you know, you need to scream out, you need to shout out, you know, for you to be heard. This was very different, you know, from maybe the roles that we played during, you know, the other times. But then we need to take up this space and make it happen. Like the activities we've been having for KEWOSA, we didn't even have to, you know, it's showing exactly what women leadership is all about. For example, we had medical camp. How many people were treated? More than 200 patients were treated. Patients definitely because they were unwell. So we had this for 2 days. We managed to, you understand, to bring that kind of support to Turkana. We were discussing also about bringing some water, doing water wells also in Turkana, Isiolo, Masabit. That is also, you know, equally support. So I'm saying with this action, and our male senators keep on actually, they've been wondering where we're getting the funds from. But then this is from our own support. Actually, we've never had any development partners. It's from our own support. So we can create that space for women, for us to be heard. Now they understand what women leadership is all about. So if you don't have that chair, you know, you need to put your chair, you need to grab that chair and place it where the men are, and shout it out that we are able to you know, we are equally the same. I remember our honorable speaker retaliated and said what men can do, we all know that a woman can do better. So I think this is the space that we need to claim, and it is a challenge, but I'm sure by give it 2027. I am so sure that the spaces that we claim, both from members of parliament, both from Senate and National Assembly, we shall be recognized, and we are actually making we are paving way for others. If not us, maybe others will do, but then at least our voice should be heard.
The women outside there who are seeking or who aspire to get to the positions of leadership, what did you tell them in 30 seconds, Senator?
Yes. First, I had wanted to talk about male inclusion, because this conversation cannot work or cannot succeed without us including our brothers. And one of the challenges we got yesterday from our honorable speaker is that we must have the men in the room, and we must stop having conversation with just women, a fact that I fully agree with and fully ascribe to. But for the aspirants who are aspiring, I just want to tell you that women are capable leaders. We have so many examples of successes of women who have made it. Look at our 7 governor women who are in office right now. And I know if you watch and track those counties that are led by women governors, there will be some of the lead counties in the Republic of Kenya. So take up the mantle, prepare yourself, don't shy away, be strong, and know that you can make it. It is all in your mind. If you can defeat that battle in your mind, just make sure you can move. You'll be 50% successful by making a decision that affirms you that you are a leader. But you must affirm yourself first before people affirm you. Because if I come and I find a woman leader who is not clear that they are leaders, do you think I'm going to follow such a leader? You've got to be strong enough to know you are able to do it so that you can do it for yourself and you can do it for your family, for other ladies, and for the community.
Thank you, Senator Veronica Maina. Senator Hamida, briefly speak to us about the aspect of bridging the gender gap. We cannot keep on speaking that women are underrepresented and women are not going for those particular competitive seats, as Senator Veronica Maina highlights. Briefly, in a few seconds, talk to those aspiring to go for leadership positions.
I want to say the government should enforce the rules, so that at least we move ahead and just to resist the political resistance. But then women, as women we can, wanawake tunaweza, we shall be doing the mentorship, and trust you me, the kind of work that KEWOSA will do, we shall empower the women, we shall make their voice heard. And in these 4 years to come, we shall be able, we shall hold that mantle and we shall say, let us work together, we shall mentor them and let them not fear. Let them not fear. Some of us are not politicians, but we are here. Politically, we are stable and we shall make their voice heard.
Thank you so much. Allow me to end this here. It's ultimately one of the wide topics to engage on, and we'll be inviting you to our studios in Nairobi so you can
call us for the
much.
2-3 gender rule, because we've not spoken about it and we need to speak into that question. It's one of the questions in the National Dialogue Committee, and it's an important question that we need to speak into.
Thank you so much, Senator Veronica Maina. Our dear viewers, we've been engaging Senators Veronica Maina as well as the chair of KEWOSA, that is the umbrella body of women senators in Nairobi and across the nation, that is Senator Hamida Kibwana. My name is Gladys Mungai. Allow me to hand you over to our studio so you can continue enjoying and watching the rest of our programming. Thank you.
Serikali ya kaunti ya Turkana ya kualika kwenye kitovu cha utamaduni cha Ekales, eneo la Lodwar, kwa makala ya 7 ya tamasha ya utamaduni wa Turkana na utalii. Tangia tarehe 12 hadi tarehe 14 mwezi Oktoba mwaka 2023. Njoo ujionee asili ya binadamu pamoja na visima vya mafuta vya Lokichar. Kenye kwenye runinga ya KBC Channel 1, Radio Taifa na idhaa ya Kiturukana.
This week on What's in Your Kitchen, Chef Dennis makes for us mutton rogan josh. Santi, I've got all my ingredients for the mutton rogan josh, courtesy of our guest cook, Dennis. Aya.
Crushed methi seeds. Kila siku soma kitu mpya. Mchele wetu iko sawa. Hii iko sawa. Tumalize.
Sasa ni kwenda tukule. Lakini hauendi.
Mimi siendi.
Hauendi.
Hiyo tutaongea kwa mbele. Za kwanza.
Sawa.
ndiwe Mungu wa miungu, wewe ndiwe Mungu wa miungu, Baba ninakuabudu, wewe ndiwe Bwana wa mabwana, wewe ndiwe Bwana wa mabwana, wewe ndiwe Bwana wa mabwana, Baba ninakuamini. Nijitoa kufa mahali pangu, ukavumilia na mateso, ulidharauliwa Bwana Yesu ili nifanyike mwana. Ulijitoa kufa mahali pangu, ukavumilia na mateso, ulidharauliwa Bwana Yesu ili nifanyike mwana. Wewe ndiwe Mungu wa miungu, wewe ndiwe Mungu wa miungu, wewe ndiwe Mungu wa miungu, Baba ninakuabudu, wewe ndiwe Bwana wa mabwana, wewe ndiwe Bwana wa mabwana, wewe ndiwe Bwana wa mabwana, Baba ninakuamini.
The DJ other DJs wanna be. It's the one and only.
DJ Unique, the message. Kwa ajili yangu umeniondolea aibu Yesu, leo naimba wimbo mpya kwako, kwa maana umeshinda, umepigana vita kwa ajili yangu, umeniondolea aibu Yesu, leo naimba wimbo mpya kwako, kwa maana umeshinda, leo nanyenyekea kwako.
Now, starting us off on this Entertainment Thursday is Blessed Tilda, whom we are just from listening from her songs. From listening to her songs, rather. I'm sorry about that. How are you, Blessed Tilda?
I am fine, I thank God.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
If you can just give me a journey of your music. How did you get into music?
Okay, I've loved singing from the time I was a small girl. So I have actually sung throughout my life. But before I got into gospel music, like getting my gospel music into the world, I don't know, God does things in his own way. Because the first time I took my first album to the world, that was in 2012, I had just lost 3 sons. So I was going through, say, a period of grieving. Actually, I was also very sick because I think I had also just gone through my very first CS. So I was in a state of physically, I wasn't strong. Emotionally, I was beaten. But there is something that comes with salvation. Actually, I am a born-again Christian. I got born again when I was in Form 2 in Butare Girls High School, those days. Yeah. So when I got the blow that I got, for all that time, during my grieving time, I don't know, the Holy Spirit actually helped me because I wasn't blaming anyone, I wasn't blaming God, I wasn't blaming myself, but rather during all that time, I was reflecting on my inner self. I was reflecting on, I know the word says that everything happens for the good of them that love the Lord. So I kept asking God every day and every night, I know that it is for my good, but as a human being, I can't see that good. So please help me understand. So for quite some time, I kept seeking God, and I really took a lot of time to just reflect on my relationship with God and God's love towards me. And so with the time, there is a time actually, I remember Ningela Siku, then a voice tells me, you have got to get your songs out. At that point in time, I had so many songs written in a notebook. Because I get songs, okay, sometimes after prayer and I fall asleep, I wake up singing. So something tells me, put that song down. So I had a number of songs in a notebook. So when the voice started speaking to me, I kept asking myself, getting songs out, yes, but how? I am sick, I am emotionally a bit challenged, I am broke because of what I had gone through and I had spent so much. But there is this one day that I was sleeping, actually just after lunch, because my body was not very strong. So after lunch, I went into bed. And this voice this time was very strong. So I kept telling myself, okay, I will do it, but let me first of all recover Then I get some money. Then when I go back to work, because actually I was on leave, I will reorganize myself and go to the studio. And funny enough, I really have never been able to understand what happened, because I found myself in the bathroom. That time I was living in Zimmerman in Nairobi. I found myself in the bathroom at about 1 p.m. showering. Then after that, I went to town and started looking for a studio. Actually, I didn't know where to begin. So there's this friend of mine called Evelyn. So I called her, I was like, I'm in town. I'm on Luthuli Avenue and I'm looking for a studio, but si ukuje tusaidiane. So she actually left work and came. And we walked until we came across this studio. And I talked to the guy who was there, and he told me, after listening to me sing, he was like, no, you are ready to record, so let's book you in.
Yeah.
So he looked at his diary and gave me a date, and that is how I did my first album called Ombeni. And
you started off first off with the album.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did my first album, and then after that, I looked for a transfer to Nakuru because I couldn't stand the Nairobi environment with the school buses, and I could see the school bus my children used to use, and it was a bit traumatic for me. So I looked for transfer to Nakuru, and I work in Nakuru. So when I was in Nakuru in 2016, I did my second album called Neno la Mwisho. And early this year, I did my third album called Nasongea. So it's been a journey. I thank God for it, because from the time I got into getting public about doing gospel music, I also preach by day. I minister with the PAG Church in Milimani in Nakuru. So from that time when I started getting public, I can say that God has really helped me. It helps to like monitor your everyday life. You know, when everybody knows this is a servant of God, you really wouldn't want to give a wrong picture of this God that is very holy. So it helps me to try all the time. As I do gospel music, as I minister to the people, it has been very good for me, for my spiritual growth. Because, you know, this is the expectation of the society. You know, even when you're born again, because you're a human being, there's that temptation to get cheeky. So it is going public actually kind of puts those controls, so that if something tells you you can be cheeky, then you remember there is this youth that is looking up to me, there is this mother, there is this man that is looking up to me as their pastor, there is this workmate that knows Matilda is born again and therefore they're looking up to me. So it kind of puts those controls. You would want to do things right so that you glorify this God that you keep telling people about, because again, God is holy. So you wouldn't say, I love God, I work for God, that I am born again, and yet what you are living is contrary to that. It is not right. So going public, from the time I went public, I want to say that it's really helped me to try and like kuka ndani ya frame, so to speak. And I really thank God for that, because, and after that, after getting that music out from the first time I did, remember I told you I was in a grieving time.
Period,
but since I did that, I don't know, but God has really helped me to remain strong. I talk to the few people I come across who are grieving, people who think that now this is the end of the road, because you know the life is actually full of challenges. So sometimes you'd meet somebody, like there's a time I had a friend who had gone through so much, and she had lost a few children, and she was feeling like this is the end of the road. But because of what I have gone through and the empowerment, the spiritual empowerment that God has given me, I remember I talked to that friend of mine, and after that she was like, wow. And you keep smiling. I was like, yes, the joy of the Lord.
Yeah, actually, I had a question still on that, you know, having told us the challenges that you were going through, having lost 3 children, you know, what kept you afloat? How are you able to still, you know, stay afloat and not even give up? You know, experiencing such hurt, you know, you may decide, okay, I'm even giving up on this God, because how 3 of them. So what kept you afloat?
I know what kept me afloat really is just, I would say it is the power of the Holy Spirit himself. Because I remember the first time when I received the news, because I lost a baby at Gertrude's Children's Hospital 1 week after birth. Then after 1 week, my 2 sons drowned. So when I got those news, I was feeling like, You know that you feel like there is fire burning in your head, in your eyes, and you can't breathe, and you know, and my CS is still so fresh. So I couldn't cry to begin with, because if you cried, your wound would bleed. So, and when I tried to cry, I realized I can't breathe, like I'm running out of breath. So I could only keep quiet. So the only thing I would do is say, oh my God. So as I went through that, I was quietly asking God to give me back that composure, because actually my body was not composed. Like the whole body was feeling like it's burning up. So in the process of God giving me that composure, I remember now going into my bedroom and just knelt beside my bed, and I began to pray. So when I began to pray, there is something that I felt. I felt like there is this person who came with a bucket that is full of cold air. I felt like somebody is pouring cold air over my head. So as the cold air went down from the head down, my body actually just cooled down. And then I felt this relaxation that I had never felt. Then I was able to pray. So when I got into prayer, I prayed actually, and I can't even remember how I was praying, because you know the way when the Holy Spirit knows that really you can't do it. And I think that is why we are told in the Bible that the Holy Spirit, Jesus promised to send us a helper. He really is a helper. Because like at that point in time, Matilda was not there. It was a shell of Matilda. But how I got into prayer, really, I wouldn't be able to understand. I can only attribute it to the help of the Holy Spirit. Because after I got out of that prayer session, I went to the sitting room, and of course it was full of people, and they're all looking at me and shaking, and others were crying, and others were fainting, like some teachers were fainting. And so when I got back to the sitting room, everybody looked at me with awe. Then from that point on, I did not cry again. I had so much energy to tell people how God is good. In fact, I'm the one who used to like demystify the cloud that was hanging around that house. I'm the one who used to make people smile and laugh, because nobody would talk. Everybody looks at you and they don't even know what to say. So God gave me the grace. I can only attribute it to God, because if I say it was Matilda, I would be lying. I wouldn't be able to do anything. But God gave me the grace, He gave me the energy, and actually that is how I was able to stand. Because I remember about a month after that, I became hypertensive. But again, how that hypertension disappeared, only God can say. Because the first time I went to hospital, when I was feeling funny, I'm not strong, then I was told I had hypertension. I was given medication. I took medication for, I remember, 3 weeks, and they told me come back. So when I went back, they told me you're okay, and I've never taken those meds again, and I have been fine. So I can only say that what has kept me afloat, strong and happy, is the joy of the Lord and the help of the Holy Spirit. Because as an individual, I wouldn't lie to you, I would manage, no.
So for someone who's watching us this very moment, and they're going through some trials, they're going through tribulations, like they feel like their world is coming to an end, I feel like you are here today to speak to someone. So just speak to that person who's watching right now and they feel like it's their end right now.
Thank you. Okay. What I will tell that person who is feeling very low and very beaten is that, from my experience, first of all, you have got to identify with Jesus Christ. Because I know and I believe that that is the only way I was able to stand. Because, you know, when you identify with God, then He looks at you as a child. And you know, there is no parent who would want their child to like break down. So once you identify yourself with Jesus Christ, like we're told in Romans, believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord, you get accepted, you become a child. So when you're going through so much, because again, as human beings, we can't do it on our own. Our strength is so small. You call on Him. You tell Him, Father, here I am. I am going through 1, 2, 3. And as a human being, I can't do it. My strength is not there. I can't do it. I can't make it. So please hold your hand. Because His word tells us that even though we go through deep waters, even though we go through a fire, we will live even without a smell of smoke. So you call on Him and tell Him, this is your promise, and here I am. I'm going through deep waters and I can't navigate on my own. So please come hold my hand, because that is your promise. And I can tell you that God is very faithful. The God that I serve is very faithful. I have seen him through so much. Actually, he himself has gotten me out of it because I really cannot explain how I maneuvered. But I know that it was the hand of God. So for that person who is going through so much, that person who think like they can't do it, you can do it by the help of the Holy Spirit. So you only need to go to him. If you don't identify with him, he is always able and willing to accept us at any time, in whatever situation, in whatever condition. And it doesn't matter what you have done as a human being, because again, I know that God is merciful. So whatever it is that you have done, you're feeling, maybe I'm going through this because I did 1, 2, 3. This God is very gracious. You only need to go to him and surrender. Tell him, God, here I am. You created me. I am your person, but now I want to become your child. By the saving grace of the blood of Jesus Christ, I want you to accept me. I want you to forgive me and have me in your fold and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for me. Because God listens to us. God is spirit. You wouldn't meet him on the road. So we speak to him through our spirit. And because we all have that spirit in us, you only need to accept that this is where I am. I can't do it, and you know that God does it. Because when you believe in him, then you believe that he will do it for you. So my advice is start by believing. And confessing that you want Jesus Christ to be your Lord. Once you do, then he is your father and you are a child. And you know the way parents love their children so much. Just tell him what you want, and believe me, he will do it for you. He did it for me, and he has never changed, and he will never change, and he lives forever.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Where can we find your music for those who would want to just check up on your music?
If you go to YouTube and type in the word Blessed Tilda, you will find my music. If you go to any other music platform, if you go to Spotify, if you go to Boomplay, whatever music platform, just type in the name Blessed Tilda, and then you will find my music.
All right.
The few people who've listened to it have told me they've gotten blessed, and I believe even you who is listening, when you do, I believe you'll be blessed, because I listen to it and feel blessed myself.
Thank you so much for coming on set.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate. Now we'll take a short musical break, but don't you go too far. We'll be back with more right here on Entertainment Thursday.
Thank you.
the moment, as you have just seen, Oliver. Yes. You are very tall. Is it that? Okay, I'm really short, so you are really tall.
Look up to. But I really appreciate God.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank God. Yeah.
We are pleased to have you on set. If you could just talk to me about the music that we just listened to.
Yeah.
Niambie hiyo ngoma ilikamaje?
Praise you. Praise you is just a vibe. Mi kitu ya kwanza mimi nasemanga, yani kila song mimi uimba inakuanga tu vibe, because after all unajua we are youths. We don't need to go to the club to dance ama to enjoy. Lazima pia sisi kwa Christ kuna vibe tunaweza come. So the only way tunaweza kuwa tuna praise God. Kwa ile praise atmosphere ya praising God ndio kujibamba yetu ina come true. So lazima tu tutumikie God in our youth na pia kwa old age yetu yenye itakam. True praises na kujibamba to feel.
Yeah, na kuget. I've gotten some kind of raga vibe to that song. How would you describe your style of music?
Siwezi jilimit sana because I'm a bit versatile. Naweza fanya hip hop, naweza fanya tu any kind of music, because ukisikiza hiyo na usikiza songs zingine nimefanya banga, kuna zingine zinakaa worship, unaona. Kuna afro, but me personally napenda kujidescribe as a dancehall afro beat artist. Mimi napenda hizo sana. Hizo naweza kuchangamkia vizuri sana. Feeling hizo niko comfortable sana.
Yeah. So umesema we mainly you're versatile, but you're una enjoy zaidi and it comes easily to you ni your story ya dancehall raga kind of. So when do you decide wacha sasa niingie kwa hip hop? Nini nafanyanga udecide wacha nitoke kwa genre yenye nimezoea, I try this other genre?
Unajua si kila msee anapenda dancehall, si kila msee anapenda reggae, unacheki. Na pia unajua since niko kwa ministry na need ku reach out kila msee, sifai kukuwa limited. Alafu pia industry si ati Oliver tu imba, I meet different people, unaona. So nikikuja ni meet na wewe, lazima pia kuna vitu at long last, kama nataka ukue kwa uadmit kwa lane yangu, pia mimi nafanya admit kwa lane yako ndo tuo in the same. So lazima pia nijue veneza compact na mse na tulete vibe. No cheki kama sasa my latest song ni song yenye ni idea yenye mimi naweza vibe nayo sana because ni banga, but because ya mse nimedu naye ni DJ ama vitu surrounding yake ni anafaa kurusha wase a certain vibe ndio wakuwe hyped. Lazima pia ni jump in ndio tulete vibe the same kwa mentality ya wase.
So your kind of music, it's ni mavijana. When I listen to it, you can definitely tell that wewe watu wako una focus na my youth man, you know, una focus na my youth man. Is this intentional, and have you gotten maybe any backlash ama watu wenye wana ku criticize because of it, wana feel like okay this music, have you gotten any backlash, and is it strategic for you to do the kind of music that you're doing?
Yeah, me I think personally, because ukiangalia the generation yenye tuko uwezi judge ati mzae ama kijana, because hata mzae saizi ukimwambia rada atashikanisha, unaona. So at least kwanza kitu ya kwanza inatusupport.
Alisema wazae wako
generation inatusupport, unacheki. So mimi sija feel like kuna ile backlash, but pia my music me I think kila mse anasikiza. Juu hata madhangu mimi mwambie ni aje nimeimba song inaitwa nini, inaitwa Rie Bebe, unasikiaje? Hata niuliza Rie Bebe ni nini, ama before niende kwa crowd niwaambie Rie Bebe ni nini, niwaambie Rie Bebe it's just a vibe of rejoicing in the Lord. So mse hata akisikia Rie Bebe na hajui mambo mengine kuihusu, as long as umeshampatia the right definition ata vibe nayo. So mimi sijapata hiyo backlash sana.
Hujapata backlash. Everyone has just embraced you vizuri.
I think pia surrounding ina matter, because the church yenye tuko, the places that we go, so unapata mostly tuna attend, hata kama ni place ya wazazi wetu, maybe wase wenye wako a bit older than us. I think tukienda huko pia the kind of songs pia siwezi imba sasa song deep sana ya vijana. Kuna songs zingine niko nazo yenye nikiperform inaweza mzae anaweza sikiza. Sasa nisiende pia place nyingine kwa mother ama kwa wazae na nianze kuambia Rie Bebe pia sana, hapana. Nikifika huko naambia pia DJ wewe nipatie inaitwa Bless Me. So kila ukiambia mzae niko na song inaitwa Bless Me, anajua kila mtu anataka baraka, unaona. Itaenda kwa attention yao.
Okay, I get that. Now, there's something umesema story na church, you know, and there's a time there was a conversation. It wasn't too loud a conversation, but there was a time that there was a conversation on gospel artists having a church, you know, having somewhere that they call their church. What is the importance of that for you as a gospel artist? Ni lazima ama mtu anaweza kuwa ni gospel artist but hakuna church yenye specific anaweza sema hii ndio church yenye mimi huenda?
Unajua church ni hati ya msee kwanza, unacheki, because mi personally unajua pia kuna msee anaweza sema si lazima ama ni lazima, but mimi personally mimi naweza sema pia ni lazima, because church ina support wase differently sana, because kuna point yenye wewe peke yako hauwezi make it, unacheki. Kuna places inafikanga kwa life wewe kama artist lazima ukwe na wase wana kumold hapo kando, because mimi nikipewa tu freedom yangu peke yangu, mimi niko sure maybe naweza mess up na vitu zingine, but kuna vitu zingine wewe pia kama kijana unaweza kuona do kijiunga, siwezi disappoint because wase wachache watasema nini, unacheki. Na pia kwa ile kukaa na wao wanakuonesha ways, pia kuna vitu una learn, unacheki, una learn Bible, una learn vitu mob sana za church, so inapata pia inasaidia mse kustick kwa lane ya God sana. Me I think mimi naweza prefer church ikue around where, because pia inakulead, but pia unajua noma ni inafikanga point, sorry to say this, but churches pia zinafikanga point zinaanza kumistreat mse, because ukiangalia mse kama msanii unajua too much availability ina reduce ile importance, unaona. Sasa hivi kuna Vivian tena kesho, unaona. So utaona hata tuna kale kaheshima kanaisha, so unapata churches zinapeanga wasanii disappointment maybe kwa ile point yenye leo tuko na wewe sifai kulipa Vivian, sasa si Vivian na Kamungu tu, unaona. So kitu yenye tutadu, wacha tutaita mwingine tu, huyo tutampay, but Vivian si atatuserve tu. So unapata ile kuchukulia normal ina hurting msanii sana. Na feel mimi mbona mimi na invest muziki yangu, nifanye nini, ni shoot video, ni in the studio nifanye hivi, alafu at long last siko paid. So mtu anachokanga na chacha, anaona like
Okay, nimekupata hapo. Unique, you have a song with ambayo uko kwa song ya Oliver. I saw it by the way, but before we get into that new song, it actually dropped jana, so this is where it is launching for the very first time. So Unique, maybe uko na swali kwake, najua ni boys wako. Sasa acha Unique akuulize swali juu sana kujua vizuri.
Wewe anaweza kuja kuniuliza swali sensitive. Hasiwezi choma bro. Like in industry, kuna zile vitu unaonanga kwa industry ya music, unasema this thing nikipatiwa chance I can like literally change it to be in a best way. Vitu gani hizo zenye unaweza sema ziko kwa industry, let's say kwa ministry, zenye unaweza taka kuchange ukipatiwa like opportunity?
Unajua kuna mimi kitu moja yenye nimegrow nikijua, kuna ile mentality yenye wasa wanajuanga gospel artist hawezi, yani kuna ile mentality yenye gospel artist wamechukuliwa tu normal, unacheki. They don't know maybe God anatumia gospel artist, unacheki. For example, unajua mimi nikikuja hapa mimi nafanya God job, is only pastor anaweza preach, mimi naimba. Mimi siwezi enda place niseme but mimi nikikuja hapa nianze kuimba, kuna msee anaweza sikiza message na change life yake. So kuna ile tu mentality wase wana judge wase wa gospel, wanasema tu huyu ni mwimbaji, unacheki, this is just a normal person. Maybe wanaona ni kama Oliver ni msame kuja tu kujienjoy kwa hii singing yake. They don't know maybe the impact yenye Oliver anaweza make. So mimi nikipata opportunity maybe kufika hiyo point inaweza change mindset ya wase, wajue pia wakiona artist wajue kitu anaimbanga si tu ni yake. This is the Bible pia, because wase wana consult Bible ndio watoe messages wanakuja kutuimbia. So ile mentality na pia kujaji wase, unajua wakiona maybe artist nywele ama design, unaona wanamjudge already, wanasema sasa huyu anakuja kutuambia nini. But I think ile mentality yenye wase wanafaa kupewa na wasikize message ya wase. Hiyo ndio kitu ya kwanza mimi naweza tamani kuchange sana. Yenye msakiona hivi Oliver haezi muelewa, unaona. Yaani kijana tu wako hivi but anaweza fanya hiki kitu. Kijana anakaa hivi but anaweza preach hata kuliko pastor. I think hiyo itakuwa one of the best things nitakuwa nimeachieve.
Okay, before I get into the new song, leo tuko na an online strategist ambaye atakuja later on the show, na ni publicist. Wewe uko na publicist, uko na mtu ambaye anakutake through your branding and maybe kuna umuhimu wake?
I think ni muhimu, because ukiangalia kama mimi nimekuwa na my gradual growth yangu tu. I think mimi kitu ya kwanza nasemanga this place imekuwa my first home yani. Unaona hata ngoma tumekuja kuilaunch huku for the first time yani. Because kuna wase pia wananipeanga direction, unaona. Unajua kuna msee, unajua kukuwa na wase wanakulead na branding ni kitu ya maana juu kama msanii pia ina depending unafanya nini, unaenda place aje. Unajua different ya msanii mimi naweza kuwa hivi na let me say maybe msanii mwingine established tuende place moja but kitu ina determine huo msanii amekujaje hiyo event, unaona. Ama venye amejibrand amejileta aje hiyo event, atakuja huko maybe amelipa kauba kake, unaona. Amekuja amehaya itao, amehaya bodyguard, unaona, amekuja amewachocha. Then mimi nimekuja tu, nimeshuka kwa mat, nimeingia. So ukiangalia nani anaweza itisha do alipwe. So wataona
of course mwenye amekuja kama ame set standards.
Pia umeangalia social media, Oliver anapost meme sana, unacheki. Oliver pale chochote tupiche yote amepiga na simu cha unique nipige picha nimechukua mtandao. So unapata alafu kuna msee pale lazima aende studio apige picha, ametafuta msao kumpigisha luku, amepiga luku, unaona. So these are two different people. So unapata pia ukikuwa na such people maybe mwenye anakuangalia brand yako, I think hiyo ni best sana. Because anaweza kufanya pia uende step. Because kama mimi unacheki kuna wasee wananiambia hapana hii kitu inabana. Hii kitu inabana. At least ukifanya hivi iko sawa. I think hiyo inasaidia sana brand ya msanii.
Okay, so uko na mtu mwenye anakufanyia hiyo ama just
niko na waseneza consult.
Okay. Bado hujaenda kutafuta.
Kuna watu kama kina Link the brand na waseneza reach out. Lakini sasa mimi sina mambo, acha kwanza nisonge.
Unatulia kwanza. Link the brand kwanza kwa hapa anakusikia.
But now
she's the one who's coming next. All right.
Maybe sasa nina look forward.
Okay, sasa tuingilie the new song. Tell me about the new song.
Rie
Bebe.
Rie Bebe is just rejoicing in the Lord from the book of Philippians 4:4. Inasema rejoice in the Lord, and again I say rejoice in the Lord. Yani hakunanga ile feeling poa kama kujibamba kwa Christ yani. Kuna tu kale ka feeling whether uko down, uko up. Unajua huyu minister amekuwa hapa ametuambia ilifika point yeye ilibidi tu accommodate situation. Whether amelose nani amefanya nini, ilibidi inafikanga point ukubali vitu. Juu ukianza pia kupigana nazo ndio pressure inakuwa mob. So Bible inatu encourage si to rejoice whatever the circumstance, unaona. So si tukaamua come out na idea ya ku rejoice na of course nikaficha the baddest DJ in the house.
Kwa nini ulificha Unique? Kulienda kuomba.
Imagine Unique kuomba collab. Unajua Unique si walk sana na he's my personal DJ. Yani sasa yeye ndio msemo mwenye mimi naambianga manze DJ. Wewe ndio umenipatia leo tempo ingine hatari sana kwa events because mimi naweza sema he's my manager currently na work naye sana. Yeye ndio anani manage kidogo. So mimi nilienda studio tukafanya project na producer. So siku moja tukatoka event tukapitia studio. Akasikiza vibe na hata sikuwa nimeplan, ilikuwa tu single. So kusikiza akaniambia manze sasa hii tufanye collab because pia unajua alitaka kuimba song yake. Unajua Unique pia ni muimbaji. So
yangu inakamba ile.
Mimi nikamwambia sasa fanyaje juu ni song na DJ. Tunaweza add hapa tu flavor tuweke scratch nini alafu tupatie wase. Na I think imekuwa one of the amazing projects.
It is a good song. Unique, how was it like featuring on this particular song?
Keeping in mind that this song ni like to me is a banger and it's something that ni vibe tu yani hata ukisikiza mwenyewe the moment hiyo like the title of the song like the way you see hata ukianza kusikiza is something that will just stick in your mind. Unaona si kitu itatoka kwa mind like hivyo. Alafu Rie Bebe is a sheng slang, unaona. Alafu ni rejoice. Just rejoicing in the Lord in everything that you do. It was such an amazing tune.
Okay, before we get to listen to the song, tukimaliza Oliver, you can just tell people where they can find you on social media and where they can get your songs, alafu tusikize ngoma tukikafunga na wewe.
Yes. So guys, mimi niko kila mahali. Unajua tunashukuru Mungu sana kwa levels ambayo ameweka watu. Yani ametuletea social media. So on Facebook, Instagram ni Oliver Music. Kila mahali tu ni Oliver Music. I think hakuna Oliver Music mwingine. Ukisearch tu hivyo Oliver Music utanipata pale. So to support new song, twende YouTube to watch hii song, itakuwa amazing sana. Oliver Music featuring Unique the DJ, yani Rie Bebe is the name of the song. Na God akubless sana yani.
Okay.
God atakubless sana, msemo mwenye ata watch life yake itabaki the same.
Amen. Amen to that. Unique, drop that tune.
Bang, 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 bang. Oliver music again now. Another Jesus and music. Let it go. Injili imeshika basi rie bebe. Na neno imeshika tukirie bebe. Kanisa imba sote tuendelee bebe. 1, 2, tukisema rie bebe. Ai, rie bebe, nasema rie bebe. Hakuna mwingine ka wewe tunarie bebe. Ai, rie bebe, nasema rie bebe. Alfa na Omega amefanya tunarie bebe. Ai, haijalishi unapitia nini. Kitu niko sure atakutoa chini.
Do you know that what you eat can affect your menstrual health?
This type of cinnamon is important for women who are struggling with missing periods and also irregular periods. Menstruation is supposed to be a natural process in your body. If you're not going through menstruation, that is not normal unless you are going through perimenopause or menopause. I've passed out many times just from losing a lot of blood because of having a heavy flow.
To learn more, join us this week on Thursday at 2 p.m.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anahadithia kisa cha vijana wa pangoni. Vijana hawa wanafahamika kuwa vijana waliokuwa na imani na ni kielelezo chema kwetu kama Waislamu na kama vijana katika zama hizi.
Wakati wa ujana sio wakati wa upumbavu, sio wakati wa mchezo. Kitu ambacho kwamba tunatakiwa tukifanye ni kumwamini Allah tabaraka wa taala.
I'm calling you, Ya Rabbana. I'm calling you.
1 year in office, 23 ministries. Time to review the journey in implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. What is your assessment of the government's performance? Starting this Thursday, Cabinet Secretaries will be in studio to give a status report on their time in office. Will they ace the performance test? Tune in to KBC News at 9 p.m. for the government scorecard.
Bang, 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 bang. Oliver music again now. Another Jesus and music. The DJ, other DJs wanna be. Injili imeshika basi rie bebe. Na neno imeshika tukirie bebe. Kanisa imba sote tuendelee bebe. 1, 2, tukisema rie bebe. Ai, rie bebe, nasema rie bebe. Hakuna mwingine ka wewe tunarie bebe. Ai, rie bebe, nasema rie bebe. Alfa na Omega amefanya tunarie bebe. Ai, haijalishi unapitia nini. Kitu niko sure atakutoa chini. Bora wewe tu umwamini. Kitu ya kufanya wewe zidi tu kucheza chini. Daudi aliomba zikarie bebe. Elia akaomba zikarie bebe. Paulo na Sila gereza zote rie bebe. Nawe zidi omba ili usikose rie. Sema head, shoulder, knees and rie bebe. Head, shoulder, knees and rie bebe. Pana kosa omba utakosa tukurie bebe. Neno ikishika usikose tukurie bebe. To the right, twende rie bebe. To the left, twende rie bebe. Twende down, twende rie bebe. Ukipata juu omba Mungu akurie bebe. Injili imeshika basi rie bebe. Maneno imeshika tukirie bebe. Kanisa imba sote twende rie bebe. 1, 2,
DJ anajua time ya kupulo kato zito kama una doubt pima kilo hakuna kulala ni kukesha tupa bilo na chafu silo simo lido unacheza gospel hata gospel na nitop reggae raga dance ulipo kwa diva bado ukipiga picha umenuna na kucrop hata kama we ni morio pinga Christ na kustop ngoma imesoma mpaka imepatiwa masters na iguse roho mpaka itumike na pastors na ubiri nayo mpaka ifikie wa ras don't get confused in the gospel you can ask
Okay, and we are hoping that this is the energy that you are getting even when you are in the house. I hope that you have stood up and you have busted some moves here and there. And right now, I am joined by one amazing lady who is doing a great job in the gospel industry. She goes by the name Lynn the Brand. She is an online strategist and publicist. Lynn, yes, the brand.
The brand.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're looking good.
Thank you. Asante sana.
How are you feeling this morning?
Niko sawa.
Kwani umeema na tumedance tu dakika moja?
Nakwanga mnoma by the way to dance.
And then
like wacha tu nisijichoche, but nakwanga mnoma sana ku dance. Ni vile sasa kwa sasa
auko umejipanga na viatu za kudance.
Nimejipanga na viatu za kudance. Clearly.
I saw that coming.
Viatu za kudance ni sneakers ni
I saw that coming. All right, if we can just go straight into this interview with you describing to us or defining for us who an online strategist is.
So an online strategist is someone who, like, unajua, for a public figure, either you're an artist, either you're an actor, either you're an actress, either you're a brand influencer, which I am as well still. You need, in our era right now, unlike Kitambo, we are so much into the digital space. So an online strategist is someone who strategizes, like, my job, like my work, ni to make sure vitu zina go naeka vitu into place in as far as your brand is concerned. Like, I'm positioning your brand in a way that it will be more visible to, if it's clients, if it's a company, to clients, if it's an artist, to a wider audience. So my work is to, vile tu jini nasema, to strategize, to come up with ideas, to come up with a good and great way to position you as a brand out there vizuri.
All right, and so who is a publicist and how are those two linked together?
Well, are they linked? I think maybe nilizilink.
Well, nilizilink by force.
Nilizilink by force, niliforce issues.
So who's a publicist?
A publicist is someone who does like PR and marketing for a brand, for a company, for a corporate, for, you know, the work of a publicist basically is to market and push someone, push a brand, push music, make sure that these products are getting to the right people and are being consumed by the right people, making sure that you as an artist, your music is being consumed by the right audience. Yes, so it's more of a publicist, more of marketing. An online strategist is more of coming up with strategies za kukuposition vizuri online. And then now publicist, unachukua ile positioning yenye umeweka vizuri online, unaingia sasa nayo kwa ground.
Yes. Unafuata kina mainstreams, unahakikisha wanaona hii product yenye umeshajipanga nayo.
Because that ukikuja kwa mainstreams, like nowadays, utapata mtu anaangalia sana, like if I want to, for example, if Vivian is an artist and Vivian ameni approach mimi kama mtu wa media, nimcheze mziki, then online kwanza nione vile Vivian amejiposition nini. So nitaanza na online. So basically, online strategy huko ndo mahali inaanzia. Huko ndio where the work begins.
Yeah.
And then now after huko unaingia side nyingine sasa ya PR, unasukuma vizuri kwa ground vile inafaa.
Yeah. Tunaweza sema online strategy or online strategizing tunaweza link na branding. Because, you know, umesema, when someone wants to play your song, you've come to them, someone has come to you, amesema anataka umcheze ngoma, but anaenda kwanza online, anaangalia. The way you've branded yourself will determine whether this person will be okay with playing maybe, or, you know, getting to know you more and all. So branding inaingilia hapo bado still hapo hivyo kwa online strategizing.
Actually zinapelekana. Like the online strategy part, the PR part and the branding part was inaintamari. So like branding inaingilia hapo sana because the way you have packaged yourself online, actually sasa that's your brand. Vile tu umejipackage online, now that's your brand. So hapo ndio mahali branding inaingilia, because if I go to your social media platforms and maybe nipate there's a way that unajua first impression ndio ina matter. So mimi nikiingia, hata let me speak for myself. Mimi nikiingia kwa platform ya msee nione, hey, like kuna vitu ziko questionable, there's a way you just positioned your brand. Maybe you're saying you're an artist, but nikikuja pale hakuna kitu ina kulink na usanii.
Na memes tu, memes tu.
Wewe uko kwa memes. Wewe ni memes tu. So natafuta, okay, amesema ni msanii na muziki yake iko wapi, you know? Ameenda photoshoot, amejipackage aje as a brand, like photos zake zinakaaje, quality zinakaaje, nini zina. So hizo mbili, like branding and the online strategy part zinaitamari kabisa.
Okay. Is it that you saw a gap in that particular sector, in this particular industry, ama how did you get into what you're doing right now?
Ndio maana nasema zingine zilikujia kwa njia. So mine is a weird story because when I was starting, I started as an online strategist / a digital strategist. So when I was doing, I was fully concentrating on the digital side, the online side. So hizo time, like I was so much into managing people's social media accounts and stories are maybe tweeting, trending and all that. So somewhere along the way, truth be told, ukweli, I saw a gap. Because nilikuwa naangalia the way wasanii, maybe hata si wasanii peke yake, the way maybe mtu amejipackage to online ilikuwa inanibother. Nashindo sasa kwa nini huyu anapost hivi? Sasa kwa nini caption yake inakaa hivi? Alifikiria kwanza before yake picha, you know? So ilikuwa inanibother sana. So somewhere along the way, I don't know, story tu nikajikuta nimefix tu hizi mambo za branding nini, and nika develop interest ya kutaka kumake watu wakae poa online. Na get ya kutaka kumake tu a brand ika in a certain way online. But when I was starting, I started to as a digital strategist. So branding, PR, hizi zote zilikuja tu mahali kwa barabara. Then I realized there was a gap. Sasa side ya PR, I realized there was a gap between artists and media. And like maybe artists wako na project poa wajui venye itafika nini, and I had built those connections, those networks. So nikaona acha ni maji gap, nikuwe Kofi Annan hapa katikati naletanisha watu hivi pamoja.
And I see you do that with so many artists. Maybe you can just mention, for those who don't know, some of the artists you work with, akina Jabidi, you know, ndo kama umekatika hapa makofi vizuri hivyo.
Jabidi ni msanii wangu.
Yeah, you can just mention some of the artists that you work with at the moment.
Okay, so surprisingly, actually, I never branded myself as gospel publicist. I'm a digital strategist. I think God alialigned to in his own way, because nilikuwa tu najipata most of the clients that I was getting, most of the referrals, najipata tu kwa mikono za wasanii wa gospel.
Because that's also a question I have, but endelea tu ehe.
Yeah, so I have worked with quite a number of people. I can start with maybe the ones that I used to work with. I have worked with Masi Masika. I have worked with Evelyn Wanjiru. I have worked with Guardian Angel. I am working with Jabidi. I am working with Benachi. I am working with Moji. I am working with Ben Psycho.
DJ Kez.
I'm working with DJ Kez. I have worked with Willie Paul. Ni nani sija? I think the question should be nani sija.
Who have you not worked with in the industry? Because the names you're mentioning are all the big names in the industry right now. Kuna mtu umesikia hajataja wale wakubwa. It's like ametaja kila mtu mkubwa mwenye ako kwa industry, the gospel industry.
So I have worked with both, let's say, artists wetu hapa, and then pia internationally. I am working with KBC from Ghana. I have worked with Pompey from Zambia. Sijui. I think tuulize tu ni nani sijawaka.
Ni nani hujawaka naye. And speaking of that, before I get into maybe if you are open to work with an artist from the secular world, there was a recent event that just concluded the other week, if I'm not wrong. That's Love Nairobi Festival, where we had big artists come into the country. You've mentioned Pompey, and there was also another artist who is extremely international, anajulikana from the younger generation to the oldest of generations, if I may say, at the moment, and that is Don Moen. You know, God will make a way. I'm sure almost everyone knows that name, and you got the opportunity to work with him as well. So just how do you land these opportunities as an online strategist and as a publicist?
Sometimes, I don't know how to answer that question, Ju. I don't know, I think God too and aligned between his own way, because when I was starting, me, I'm a very aggressive person, very, very aggressive. So utapata maybe when I was starting, I used to spot, if I see maybe there's a big event, alafu naangalia naona kuna gap, maybe online, kuna vile event haijahypewa poa ama nini. So I used to look for the owner, ama the organizer of the event. Nitaenda tu kwa page nianga, wametag nani. Then I used to DM them so much. So watani snob, of course, wengine watani snob, watanichorea, hizo zote. So one of the people that niliwahi anguka kwa DM yake is someone who I'm working with currently pia. Now him, because I'm not working with artists peke yake, I'm also working with content creators. So there is Nlamimwe too, the Reverend Dad. So niliwahi anguka kwa DM yake a while back. Nilifurahisha ukisema ulianguka. Nilianguka. Ukaanguka kwa DM. Alimchorea maze. So niliwahi, like there were, before COVID, he used to organize like very big events.